Hello, and thank you for joining us for this month's Tiger Talk. I'm joined today by Peter Thor, the principal from Southview Elementary, a brand new school. We're going to talk about that today and kind of how the first year went at the new elementary. So excited to get to that in just a couple minutes, Pete. I do want to share a few announcements for the district. We're in the spring, we're at the end of the school year, and a lot of things taking place, a lot of fun stuff happening. First thing I want to share is last month we talked about our activities director position was open, one of our our administrative positions that has a lot of different roles in the district. We have hired our new activities director. His name is Mitch Grunig. Mitch is coming to us to Marshall from Fargo, where he's currently an athletic or activities director at a charter school. So he's moving to a little bigger district, and he's going to be coming to Marshall with his family this summer. He'll start July 1st. We're really excited to get Mitch to join us and our team here in Marshall. I also want to talk a little bit about the Rotary and schools' connection with that. So schools had a connection with the Rotary, the noon Rotary specifically, for a number of years. High school students are identified each fall as some specific student leaders, and they're invited to come to the noon Rotary meetings, and they give speeches. Each student comes to two different meetings. They give a speech talking about Rotary concepts and how they've grown as a leader. It's a really great opportunity for our students to connect with business leaders, community leaders in town, and learn about this community service organization. And then at the last meeting of the school year that the students are part of, the students lead a meeting for the Rotarians. So that's going to happen here in the next couple of weeks. Our students are organizing that now. They plan the location and the meal and put together the entire program. So it's always a fun activity for our students to be part of that. It'd be a fun event for them to be part of. Another thing the Rotary does specifically with our school is there's a 6th grade writing contest. Pete, your wife is a 6th grade teacher, so she's part of that and familiar with that. They offer this writing contest where students write about the Rotary 4-way test. It's part of the Rotary values that they talk about. Students submit papers. The teachers help the students get those done. And then there are 3 papers chosen from a panel of Rotarians to receive the Rotarians Awards. So that recently took place. 3rd place winner this year from the 6th grade team was Giselle Mares. She wrote about building relationship with a family member. 2nd place was awarded to Landry Gravin, who described her commitment to her family by willingly shoveling the driveway, something my kids don't exactly get excited about doing at home. And then writing about another student who struggled making friendships was our 1st place winner this year. Congratulations to Josh Michaels. Josh was recently recognized at a meeting with all the 6th graders and the Rotarians, and then he was invited to come present his paper to the Rotary team at the noon meeting earlier in April. So that was a fun event and nice to recognize our students for their quality work there. Early Childhood had wanted to share that they are working through registrations for next fall. It's always a big piece, recognizing the class placements for next year. So families will be getting letters from the Early Childhood Department by May 1st. So if you've registered for Early Childhood, those letters should be out by May 1st, stating those placements. 4-year-old classes are almost filled already, and there are a few openings yet for the 3-year-old classes. So continue to register or contact our Early Childhood class department if you have questions about some of those offerings. Another thing, I was at the 2nd grade concert recently. The spring concerts are a big deal this spring because our 2nd grade ones Pete got up on stage and said, our 2nd graders have never done a concert before, and I have a 2nd grader. So wait, he's right. We've never had a face-to-face concert. Everything's been different. So fun to be bringing that back. Face-to-face live spring concerts this spring. Last year, Parkside did some green screen recordings that was a little bit different, and it's been, because of COVID, we've had some different ways of offering that, but back to inviting at the high school all families and friends to come to those concerts. Students are really working on their songs, but also just those things like performance etiquette and being on stage and how to stand on the risers up in front of everyone. So some nice skills being taught there, and the kids have really done a nice job. Fun to see those concerts coming together. So I wanted to share, too, with the community, you hear the legislature is determining kind of priorities for next year. One of the things we're hearing about is this letters training that's being supported, looking at reading instruction and supporting students with that in the classrooms. We are participating in a grant with Marshall Public Schools. We have a number of elementary teachers and reading specialists, leaders, that are participating in that letters training. So both Parkside and Southview, almost said Westside, Parkside and Southview have teachers that are participating in that training, along with some of the administrators are going through that. So some training taking place that we'll be implementing in classrooms in the near future there. I also want to talk about activities, because that's a big piece. We're full swing into the spring activities at this point. Boys and girls golf, girls softball, boys baseball, boys and girls track, and clay target league are all underway. Our spring weather, Minnesota weather, certainly hasn't disappointed this spring. Maybe it has been more disappointing, but like every year, it's a challenge to get activities in place. We've had a number of contests that have been canceled and rescheduled, but I know as we walked in today, the sun is shining and the wind is, of course, blowing, but hopefully we got some weather coming up where we can look and count on more of those activities taking place as scheduled. Want to recognize our speech team. 5 members from the Marshall speech team have qualified for the state tournament. That'll be April 22nd and 23rd, so coming up here at Eastview High School. Manzi Bell, Lydia Wyverka, Lillian Gugesberg, Naomi Schroeder, and Mary Lanou have all qualified to participate in the state tournament for speech this year, so congratulations to those students. High school junior senior prom is taking place again this year. We've had a couple years that looks different again because of COVID, but we're back on with a regular schedule with that. That's scheduled for April 30th. So we'll have a grand march in the gym, and then the prom is actually going to take place in the cafeteria this year, but that's scheduled coming up soon. BPA is another one of our teams at the high school that always does well and has a lot of success. BPA team members are competing in nationals that will be held in Dallas, Texas, May 4th through 7th. So that's coming up for a number of our students. And the spring play is another thing going on, a lot of activities. The 12 Angry Jurors is the play they're doing this spring. That's taking place at the high school May 5th, 6th, and 7th. And that's going to be a little different setting this year. They're going to be holding that on the stage in a more intimate type setting where the audience is right up close to the play taking place. So that's something they're putting together and having a lot of fun organizing. We were informed this week that our high school football coach, Terry Balman, he will be inducted to the Iowa High School Football Coaches Hall of Fame. That will take place this next fall. Some more information will come down in the future, but Terry taught in Iowa before they moved to Marshall, which was a number of years ago at this point, but exciting for Terry to be recognized in that way. So we'll share more as we know more about that. Finally, I want to share that the Athletic Hall of Fame banquet is scheduled for Saturday, April 23rd. So depending when you're watching that, if that's still coming or you've missed it, but that's scheduled for the 23rd at the Marshall Golf Club. We have a number of athletes that are going to be recognized at that. It'll be a nice event. If you're interested in participating, you can contact the high school office for more information about that. All right, that's my announcements. So Pete, let's talk a little bit about Southview. So new elementary school coming off of COVID. It's been and 2 years as a lead principal. So a very quiet and uneventful year, I'm sure, for you.
Oh, last year was definitely full of excitement, full of just a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was exciting to have the new building come together, to have kind of a little project going outside that I can always kind of release a little bit and work on. It was fun.
Yeah, something that felt normal,
right?
Normal as whatever outside of COVID. So,
yep.
So with opening a brand new elementary school, it's something you probably do once in a lifetime. You know, it doesn't happen very often. Think about what's the hardest piece leading up to opening and having that grand opening, that official opening, first day of school. What was the hardest thing with that?
I think just seeing the blueprints, and I feel like our planning committee did a great job. I feel like we got a lot of great input from our constituents, our teachers, and even, just seeing the blueprints and then seeing them come alive and having to just kind of pick through the little details. I never thought I would have to pick like doorknobs, colors, carpet. Some of those things I just leave to my wife to do at home. So it was a lot of talking to the secretaries. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? 2 or 3 hour meetings and then coming back and having to make some decisions that I know, hey, this school is a one-time build. It's going to be in the community for a long time. We want to do it right. We want to make good judgments and whatnot. So I felt like that was pretty tough, just feeling a lot of pressure to do things well. But it helped to just go through it and see it from the ground level up. Dion Karen did a great job of allowing us to go in there and do tours for our staff and myself so we can kind of see progress. So I think our first tour we went, it was maybe January, and we didn't see much other than just cement.
Yep.
And then the next time we went, we saw walls. And the next time we went, the rooms were almost finished. So just the excitement of that, I think, was something that our teachers looked forward to. Like I said, it was a kind of a stress reliever for them. It brought excitement to bringing multiple grades together. So I felt like that was good. But I think the hardest part overall was just to see how traffic was going to flow both outside of the building and inside the building without having been in it yet. So We have a lot of students, and it's a beautiful facility, but without having any experience with the flow, that's been a struggle this year. And after 1 year, we've learned some stuff, and then we'll make changes for next year.
Right. Didn't have anything to build off of coming in there. I know we think about the old West Side site and how the cars were lined up down the highway, and how do we avoid
Right.
some of that, and where do we queue the cars, and where do we put the buses, and a lot of
Right.
conversations and a lot of planning, and then it's fun to see it come to fruition, and here's how that really works.
Right.
The architects say this is what we're going to see, and then see that, okay, yeah, I can see it now how it's going to work. Or even
Right.
you think about lining kids up for lunch, and where do they stand when they get their food, and where they
Yep.
stand when they're going outside, and which doors do we use, and
Right.
those things
Right.
that the buildings have in place, those routines exist. So,
Yep.
Good. Oh, so some different configuration with the new school. Talk a little bit about what the makeup of students and staff is like at Southview.
Sure.
What do we have there?
So we had an addition of second grade to third and fourth grade at Southview. So we have 3 grade levels instead of 2. So we added a halftime administrator. So I do have an assistant. That's their halftime, Amanda Granager. She does a great job of just helping me meet the needs of the kids. We also added a halftime secretary. Our school nurse is full-time. We've also added a social emotional teacher, which with coming kind of with the COVID stuff, we feel like our students had a need there that needed to be attended to. And so I feel like that's been a great addition that we've had this year. The addition of a third janitor also is a huge plus. It's a big building, and our needs are much higher. But, the total number of adults within the building is roughly 82 to 83 on a daily basis. And between second, third, and fourth grade, we have 510 students. So that's a significant number.
Yeah.
But it flows, and it takes all 83 staff members to make that building flow.
Right. And some days I'm sure it feels like we could use a few more hands.
For sure,
even,
for sure.
Yeah. Anything you did this year opening a brand new school that you don't typically do in the fall?
Sure. So last spring, after looking at our scores coming out of COVID a little bit and having gone through kind of a hybrid model last year, we felt like our students needed a boost in the fall. And so one of our new hires this year was an instructional coach. Jody Litzen is our instructional coach at Southview. And she brought up the idea of doing a boot camp for our students that were behind their peers. And so for about 2 to 3 weeks there, we pulled students out of their core instruction, and we basically gave them a dose of intervention to try to just get them closer to their peers. We tracked how they did, and then from there, after we had more data, then we started pulling for title services and additional interventions. But I felt like that additional boost of boot camp really helped some of our students that were just behind their peers and struggling to stay afloat.
Yeah. Good. Thinking about the new school, certainly it's hard. It's always hard to start something new. We're coming off COVID,
Right.
so the regular felt like new anyways. But any other new initiatives that are taking place at Southview this year?
Sure. So I would say one of our biggest initiatives was just doing social emotional learning as a class in itself. In the past, so last year we started using second step curriculum, and we had our classroom teachers teach it within their class as their morning meetings. I feel like we just had some not as much consistency as what I would have liked. So with the addition of the halftime SEL teacher, Bob Jacobson, we are having the kids rotate through basically on a weekly basis. Every other week they see SEL, and the other they have technology. And Bob does a great job of teaching the lessons. So all the students are getting the lesson from him. And then he's able to pull kids that we see as we meet on a regular basis to talk about student needs. When we see a kid needs just additional support, he can make suggestions and pull small groups of students to work on social skills or emotional skills as needed. And that's been a huge plus. I feel like the connections he's been able to make because he's in the classroom and also in and out of the building as needed. So that's been a huge plus, and I feel like that's something that we need to just carry forward.
Right. So not necessarily something new, but a new way of doing something
Right.
that happened before.
Right.
So, good. So certainly a big change. You were at the middle school for a number of years with a little bit older kids. Then you had third and fourth graders, but now second graders is a whole nother level. Talk a little bit about what are the differences you see between those three different levels? Because 3 years doesn't seem like a big gap, but that's a big difference in maturity and such.
Right. Going from middle school to the west side, that was a huge change for me. And it took all of last year for me to just kind of get used to that age group. Adding second grade was just something totally different too. What probably helped me is I do have a second grader that's going through it. Micah's a second grader in my building. And just to see him at home and see him interact and kind of go through every day with him has helped. I do feel like our second graders come in as beginning readers. Some of them are strong, but most of them are still beginning readers. And the progress that I see between the beginning second grader to the graduating fourth graders and what they read and what they can comprehend and what they do in math, from basic skills to beginning algebra, beginning geometry, even all the way to probability and statistics. I feel like our kids grow so much within those 3 elementary years. The second graders still come up to you and try to give you as many hugs as they possibly can. And the fourth graders kind of tend to like their space. And so just getting to know the kids and what their likes and dislikes are, mannerisms and everything in between.
Yeah,
so.
Fun.
And a lot of tying shoes.
A lot of tying shoes that you didn't do at the middle school, I'm
That's
sure.
right.
Thinking about some of those classes you mentioned a bit, so it's not just reading, math, science, social at Southview. We have some other things as well. What are some other classes students take at Southview?
Sure. So we feel like physical education and music is very important. And so they do have those classes for 25 minutes each day. They basically flip back and forth. And then they also have the technology and SEL that meet every other week. So we feel like that gives them a wide range of activities. It breaks up their day a little bit. And then the classroom teachers are still responsible for the social and science pieces as well.
Right. Great. So kind of starting to set that foundation for when they get to middle school. Then middle
That's
school
right.
setting the foundation for high school. So yeah, I like that. Some nice transition pieces in place.
Yep.
So if I were to come to Southview this afternoon and ask any one of the students their favorite part of the day at Southview, what do you think they'd say?
Sure. We've got a lot of compliments on our playgrounds. We have 2 different sets of playgrounds.
And they're busy all the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to see the community use that space. It's fun to see our kids not get bored. Westside had great green space, and we could run around and do lots of different things, but our playgrounds are a huge blessing to our building in that our kids can spread out. They get bored with one thing, they'll jump on another. I would say our kids also really like our PBIS celebrations. Our PBIS team does a great job of setting up end of quarter celebrations to recognize students that have been doing or following our Tiger traits. There's goofy games that we do. We give away prizes and everything in between. And so the kids really enjoy that. It's been fun to be able to get all the students into a gymnasium and do those types of celebrations where the last couple of years we haven't been able to as well. So, but I would say most of my students, when I talk to them about what makes their day, it's usually about connections with either a peer or a teacher. So that makes me really proud.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. So that's awesome. Any events within classrooms specific that you'd like to highlight and share with the community?
So I talked to my second, third, and fourth grade teachers and some of the things that came forward. We have a few things coming up. Second grade, we have, like I said, our second grade group is finally figuring out what normalcy is. And so just being able to be there at school and be with our friends is a big deal, just the social aspect of it. But like a third and fourth grade, this year we had our book battles where our media specialist, Kaya Johnson, does a great job of coming up with the list of books. I think this year third grade had 12 books and fourth grade had 16 books where students had to get into teams and then they read those books and then Ms. Johnson would come up with questions and they go back and forth between the teams and answer questions. So she would ask a question relating to one of those books, and the students had to say what book it was from and who wrote it. And so it was neat to see that. The The finals were held in the cafeteria where the entire class, 3rd and 4th grade, were able to come in and see that competition. And it was, some of them had to go into extra rounds because the kids just knew the book so well. And so it was fun to see the kids get excited about doing a book battle in that way.
Yeah, those are fun. I've gotten to watch a few of those.
Yep.
The kids remember those details. That's awesome. What are students looking forward to for the end of the year? What end of the year things you have going on?
Sure. So 2nd grade, we had our concert, which was baseball themed. That was awesome on the opening day of Major League Baseball. They're getting back to doing a field trip to Lake Chautauqua and Curry End Line Railroad. And they also have class plays that we're going to invite the community and parents to come and see in late May. I think all the kids have been working hard for all of those. 3rd grade, like I said, they had the book battles. For their end of the year field trip, they're going to the Sioux Falls Zoo, which is a big trek for them. But again, we feel like our kids enjoy these experiences and learn from these experiences. 4th grade, our students have been working really hard on their wax museums, where they research a famous person and write a paper about it, and then they come up with a script. Then parents come in and they rotate through and they dress up for their parts and do a great job. We've had a couple of classes that have done it already, and I've been able to go in and watch, and our kids do an amazing job giving speeches at a 4th grade level. Some of them just amaze me. So those are some of the big things that are happening.
Fun way to learn about historical characters.
For sure.
So yeah,
Yep.
Great. I know you've mentioned a time capsule at Southview. Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So at the beginning of the year, we were talking about what do we put into our time capsule and where should we put it. And so after some brainstorming, I really want to have a kid feel to it. And so with the help of my PBIS team, we're looking at the end of this year, coming up with a survey for the kids, for them to kind of pick and choose different items that we can put in there. And then also doing the same for our staff. So it really has a feel of the people that make up the building this first year. I tell our students all the time, we have to take great pride in the building that our community has given to us and future students and teachers that are in that building. And so we have a time capsule that's purchased. Right now it's empty, and we are looking forward to putting items in there.
Good. Honor the first year at the end of the year, so that works well.
Yeah.
Something we haven't talked about that I think is kind of a fun feature in the Southview building is this rock wall. Can you talk a little bit about the rock wall? That was a gift from the Pride and the Tiger Foundation, right? Right.
So on our longest wall, we have a rock wall that is part of our curriculum. Our students love it. It's not super tall, but it is long. And so when I was in there for the first time they had it, the students were going horizontally from one side to the other. And it's just something unique. The kids, you see the kids come into the gym and they see it for the first time and their eyes just light up. Those are the things that I'm glad we're able to provide our students.
But coming after hours, do I find you on that? Great. Those kind of cover the questions we had written down. One last thing that you want to share with the community about Southview that we haven't already talked about?
I do want to thank the community for just their patience, for understanding and working out the kinks. We've had to send out reminders about drop-offs, pickups, bus lines, everything imaginable. It's kind of a work in progress, and after this first year, I think we'll know better what to do for next fall. I'm excited moving forward with the school. It's a beautiful building, and it's been a pleasure to be in there.
Yeah, well, we appreciate everything you've done with it this year, Pete. I know you've worked hard. It's been a lot, but you've done a great job pulling it together, and it is fun to see that come together from the plans on paper that we worked on for how many years to now seeing it actually functioning and seeing kids in all the halls and the playground you talked about. It's great. It's fun to have that, and certainly do want to thank the community for that. So appreciate you coming and joining us today for Tiger Talk, and we appreciate.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate everyone listening in today and learning a little bit more about Southview Elementary in our first year of many at our new elementary school. Thank you.